This is the first time I actually felt really like kind of awkward, terrified a little bit on a commercial set. You'd think, wouldn't think, the irony. And this was when they introduced Shamrock Shakes, or shortly thereafter when they were really punching them. Okay, commercial nightmare for Sean. He is supposed to turn into a leprechaun. One of the prereqs for this was that you knew how to do an Irish jig. Well, of course, dyed in the wool, 51% straight from Western Europe with Liz. I, of course, knew how to do an Irish jig poorly than my cousins, but damn well better be able to do an Irish jig and a complete tea service for 6, depending on if it was with meat, without meat, 3 or 4 p.m., 3 for the Irish. Oh my God. Yeah, 3. I thought I was going to say 4, but that's UK. So, point being, I walk out of the McDonald's with my Shamrock Shake. Gimmick is I walk, I take a sip, and boom, I'm a full-blown dressed, hideous, colorful 70s leprechaun, and I have to start doing a jig because I'm intoxicated from the Shamrock Shake. Well, point being, the continuity takes the Polaroid of the picture of you frozen. This is like way back in the day. Then you leprechaun shit, and then you have to go back into similar exact same pose in the Polaroid, and boom, you're a leprechaun. Well, problem was, where I turned into a leprechaun was direct throughway to the street, to the sidewalk. What? Well, about 60 people of my age, mostly, stood there after school and just chuckled and stared in disbelief at this kid jumping around as a leprechaun. I literally asked my dad, first time ever, to ask the director to actually put up a white screen. Now that's sort of to give you this washout look, and even tone the lighting. But it wasn't required. But I had to I begged for them to put that up so there was no audience. And then I did my jig, and it was again a very popular commercial. So winding down from Dennys and McDonald's and KFC and Cool Whip and the Morton Salt boy and the Mountain Dew boy, we rolled into a little bit later, but 12, we're not going over that. And I was signed for Kodak campaign with Todd Bridges, the actor from Different Strokes, and some other, was it Johnny? I think it was Johnny Timko, who actually was another, we were all this cabal of working actors and commercials at the time, although, Todd and I were, beyond that. I was offered an episodic sitcom one time, but I chose to go into private school instead of take it. But there's a lot of other kids in the show, so screw it. This was a Kodak campaign, and we were literally set wild on the Universal Studios tour, of course, with, all kinds of Kodak Polaroids and bright colored, hoodies with, I don't know, to show the brilliance of the Kodak color. And okay, you guys, the Jaws exhibit had just opened. So part of the big thing was this chomping mechanical gray thing attacking us while we're taking Polaroids of it. Whatever. Okay, so then I move into drawing to conclusion my contract with M&Ms to do 2 on their campaign, which was the Thanks Mom campaign, which is basically she gives you the candy, you thank her, and it's all sweet and whatever. Well, I was well liked for that one, I guess, because I was signed for 2. First one, I'm this really kind of studious, dorky looking kid in this checkerboard blazer with a bow tie. Thanks, Mom. Carbs. And then second one, I was lying on the ground coloring Easter eggs with a visor that the director told me to write on with marker as I would, which ended up in the ad. And again, what? Candy, eggs, thanks, Mom. Chow down on the carbs. So on that set, in conclusion again, what did they say? Long story short, long story longer. On this second spot for M&Ms, finalizing my campaign with them, the craft service lady who is not necessarily the caterer, although she went on to become a premier Hollywood caterer. The craft service table lady was my sister's mother, Sandra. And, you know, I don't mean to like explode and brag all over my IMDb bio or whatever, but had it not been for my second campaign with them, my dad, who was my guardian on the set, would not have met my stepmother, who was doing craft service. And they fell in love on that commercial, and literally within hours, I think, of dropping me off, he was at her place, and the rest is history. My sister came along very short afterwards, and then we're talking second book, we're talking entirely different chunks of history, we're talking all kinds of things that I will leave at that. Okay? I know I kept you way fucking friggin' forever on this one, but I don't know, I hope it was entertaining after a long, hard day. Again, positive vibes for us here now, today. Life's doing its thing, you know, but what do you do? Okay, enough of that. Thank you for sharing with me, or allowing me to therapeutically share with you today, which again always works. And I want to wish you the best, instruct you to have a good day, be good to yourself as best you can nowadays, and with what little resources that we have, right, across the board. So I love you, and you know that, and I'm gonna sign off right now because I got a problem with goodbyes in general. Okay, take care.